Yeah, you are able to have the screen share now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So welcome everyone. And today, before I go into the remedy differentiation, since I was told to probably take up some cases,
Yeah.
I will start with one of the commonest, you know, uh, condition that we all as homeopaths face, and most of the times it is the asymptomatic stage that patients come to us with. So where they have either a family member who has just got COVID confirmed, and because of that, you know, naturally they also would have had the virus within the system, because the incubation period for this particular virus, we all know, is said to be between 2 to 14 days. So before the symptom manifests, the patient has already been infected, prior infected. And most of the patients come, relatives of these patients come at this stage asking, can something be done to help them not get the disease or help them prevent the disease, developing into a more severe phase or a severe form. And this is what I have been doing in my practice for the last 1 year. And, if we ask or we look to this particular thing as an asymptomatic stage, uh, what is the way out of this particular? Because we have to follow what Hahnemann says, the law of similars.
Yeah.
So I have been struggling with this particular thing at the beginning, where, let's come down to that you are called to give a medicine to some people who were exposed to the virus. So I was called in one of the hospitals. I am not talking now. It was in the early stage when the epidemic was just getting established in India. I'm talking of the March and the April part of last year. So there were doctors who did not know that the patient is COVID positive, and he was admitted as routine, and then they found that, oh, there are 2 or 3 patients who are COVID positive. So in that particular phase, what is it that we do? How do we go about it? So if I put this question to you, how would one go about in such type of cases? Do we generally go for prescribing the A or the B or the C medicine? Like probably it could be arsenic, it could be camphor, it could be any other medication that some homeopaths have been suggesting of. So would you be giving either of them, or you would find out, want to look out for something else? So it could be an XYZ. So I was faced with this question at that point of time as to what is to be done and how to help them, if at all sincerely homeopathic medicine has to work. Because see, arsal, camphor, whatever the remedies were, they were after the patient had developed symptoms. So these remedies came on looking to what are the symptomatology that infected patient had. But here we are trying to understand that the infection is not developed, and at this level, is there something that could probably be, of much use? And I have used this now very often. So, uh, what will we look for in this particular type of cases? Because the patient has no symptoms. Even now, there are a lot of cases which are asymptomatic. They don't present with any symptoms. So, what would you do, sir, if I put this question? So, anyone wants to address this question? Let's make it a little interactive. So do we have any answers for this?
Genus is the medicine which we can select.
Yeah, so what is the genus?
Use the most.
That's right, sir.
We
But what is
use the
the
most.
genus? Because everyone talks of a different genus. There has been a remedy that has come around on the basis of the understanding of the symptomatology that they talk about. So, here, what I was also faced with, whether I give, on what basis would I be probably giving arsenic, or what basis would I be giving camphor, if at all I have to give, was my question. So, what is the action plan? Would you take the full history of all those, 20 people who were affected at that point of time? So, is this a reasonable proposition to go and take the history of that? And will it help? And how will it help? Was the question that came to mind. Because they will all have different generals, mentals, physicals, all will be, facing on a very different platform. So they will all have a very different generals. So then would you like to give those 20 different remedies which come around in 20 different people? So are you with me? These are the questions that, homeopath will definitely face. And the point is it worth taking that amount of risk to be in contact with those 20 people? Because, would you not be exposing yourself to the virus? So we have to weigh the risks as against, the rewards that we are trying to generate out of the situation. And when we inquire for any complaints, generally in asymptomatic stage, they don't have any problems. They are not, having any particular symptoms to point out to, so that at least we can differentiate between the remedies. Now, Hahnemann says that genus is a remedy, very correctly said by somebody, that we have to identify. Now, that genus is a remedy which most of the people tend to simultaneously have as their problem. So in this particular case, what I went around doing was this, that I went around asking all of them as to what is going on in their mind about this current situation. So what's there in their mental framework that's working on their mind? Most of them had similar feelings. And we all know, we also have the similar feelings. When I put it across, you will also feel that, yes, this is where we all have a common thing coming around after COVID-19 has been, a pandemic around in the world. So most of them said that they are afraid and scared. So there was a base level of fear which was there. They don't know what's going to happen, and that's worrying them. So the outcome was not yet decided. So, that was also on the back of the mind as to what's going to happen. We all know, we also face this particular thing as to, when will be my next, who will be the next, or when can I become the next, is a question that many of us have. So because of that particular worry, what they had started was they started quarantining from their family members. And with that particular thing, generally what happened was they started taking more precautions in terms of wearing mask, hand washing, social distancing, wearing PPE, because they wanted to protect themselves as well as others from getting the infection. So this was what was in those people whom I had inquired with them as to what is the mental scenario that everyone has been facing around. Now, remember, this was at that point of time, but still, this still exists. So, what I tried to figure out what is the ground for the pathology. So, there is a pathology and there is a ground. we always say, homeopathy, that, we are probably getting, so if you talk of immunity also lowers down if we are physically and mentally stressed. And that physical and mental stress would bring down our immunity level. And from there, we manifest symptoms. So there is a common ground for this pathology to develop, which if we can identify, then we are near to, giving a remedy at this point of time. So let's understand what's going to happen. See, person develops an abnormal sensitivity because of the constant negative news that are going around on TV, on social media. Like, if we probably even now understand the scenario that is there in terms of oxygen shortage, bed not coming around. I feel an abnormal sensitivity, and everyone has a distress and a fear that comes up in the mind of most of the persons. So, one is persistently hearing, thinking about this negative situation and nothing else about it. We are not so much preoccupied with anything else except this particular scenario. So we are always, somebody has not been well, somebody is not okay, somebody has just got COVID positive, somebody has just got admitted to the hospital. And I'm not talking about professionals, I'm talking even the general crowd. Everyone is just within their own, everyone is facing the same situation in and around them. So most of the people are just talking, or the talk that is going on is only about this particular subject. And there is a great fear of getting infected in this pandemic. So, if we recollect those days where, people were wearing gloves, they were wearing masks, PPE kits, the way, it was shown around as to how to wear a PPE kit and what protection has to be taken. There was a double layer protection that was there. I think you all recollect that particular thing. Even now, we take care of, the masking and, social distancing. So, on our mind, topmost is, of getting infected, because it is virulent, one, and, it spreads fast. And this creates a lot of insecurity in person's mind about not knowing when will he or she be the next. So for those who have not probably developed disease, there is an insecurity which is gathering in everyone's mind. Now, this causes a person to become extremely careful to remain healthy. So we take all the precautions to prevent getting diseased. And this results in becoming discouraged with fear of death. Because the scenario is this, that relatives are not able to, see or even get bodies after they die, in this particular level. So everyone is fearing death. And with this fear, we find a very discouraged environment that is there in the current scenario. So can you understand, this is the pathology, the ground for creating a pathology in a healthy human being? First is there is abnormal sensitivity that comes around because of the constant news, which causes a distress and fear. Then there is a, there's nothing else but the same topic keeps on going around, whether it's in WhatsApp or news or radio or anywhere. And then there is always a fear of getting infected, with an insecurity in everyone's mind. And the person, then we all become very extra careful to see to it that we remain healthy. And the fear of death, which causes a lot of discouragement. Now I identified this to be the common pathology that keeps working on the mind of the person. When he's healthy, has exposed, or probably not even exposed, but he feels that he is the relative has got a COVID, and then this is where most of the people come with this particular state of mind to me. So if we look through the totality, we get an extremely distressed situation over troublesome stories. There is a fear from hearing about troublesome things. There is a persistent thoughts of nothing but the COVID infection. There is fear of contagious disease and insecurity. Now, this insecurity is in many terms. Basically, it's not just restricted to the infection, but there is a lot of insecurity that is getting generated out of this particular situation. It's about the livelihood that's going to be there. It's about the work situation, because people don't know whether they'll be working from home, and for how long will they be working from home. And such type of insecurity that is there in children's mind, in parents' mind, everyone's mind. There is a lot of insecurity about losing job, about not getting their full paycheck. So all these things is creating a lot of insecurity. There is an anxiety about health, and therefore one becomes very careful about health. And there is discouragement with fear of death. If we repertorize this totality, we come to the remedy. I picked up all the rubrics that are there, and the remedy that came up was Calcarea Cup. And I have been giving Calcarea Cup. I gave to those doctors also Calcarea Cup, and none developed the viral infection. And after that, I have been giving it to many of my patients, relatives who have turned positive. And when we look to the materia medica, Calcarea Cups are aggravated, getting overworked. Life is coming to completing your task list. Cannot relax. There is timidity and restlessness, as if an evil was impending over her. There is weakness of mind, lack of confidence and determination. Anxiety about future and worry about small things. A despair of recovery. Calcarea Cups have lots of fears of high places, mice, insects, rats, spiders, dogs, dark, infection, cancer, poverty, claustrophobia, earthquakes, storms, accidents. So such type of natural calamities that are there, tends to grip a person and brings them to a Calcarea Cup situation. Losing control. So we all feel that, we have lost control over the situation. Insanity. Others will observe their inner state. A fear of the unknown. Many small fears. So if we see the whole gamut of fears that Calcarea Cup has developed, these are all the fears that we are subjected to in this particular times. Fears that she has a fatal disease, especially heart disease, fear of being unfortunate. For those who get to this infection, they feel, that, oh, it's so unfortunate I got this infection. There is great apprehension, which actually comes towards evening. Fears that she will lose her reason and people will notice her confused state. Very forgetful. So, I feel that Calcarea Cup is a remedy that has to be given in the asymptomatic phase of the disease, especially where relatives of the patient who has got exposed to or has been diagnosed with COVID-19. I would give Calcarea Cup. I have been giving Calcarea Cup 30 BD till the fear or the anxiety disappears. And I have seen a lot of patients coming down with a lot of calmness. The fear, the anxiety just settles down. So this is what I do in the asymptomatic phase of the disease, or patients who have been exposed to relatives who have been exposed to COVID positive patients. Now, I would talk about a case. Now, I just wanted to at this juncture also talk about it. There is even after the patient has got into well from COVID, there is still an anxiety or an insecurity precipitated. Like yesterday, since I was told to put up some cases, I called up at 10 o'clock, one or two of my patients, asking them to send me the reports. And they were so scared about it. This is, doctor, what happened? Why do you need the report now? So I said, no, nothing. It's just a talk that I'm giving to the doctors. But even when they were sending me the reports, after that also, they called me 2 to 3 times again. The doctor, is everything all right? Do you feel there is something else in my body? I said, you have had COVID 6 months back. Now you are out of it. Why you worry about it? No, then why do you need the report back again? So I stopped, calling up my patients. I said, when everything settles down, situation comes down, then I'll ask them to send me the reports back again. Because there are a lot of patients, whom I have treated, but I have not gathered those reports. So this insecurity is even present after 6 months, 8 months after they had been very well. They have no issues now, but the insecurity still persists because they don't know, probably something else might creep up from any corner. So let's see this particular case, which is a case of a lady who is 28 years. She had slight cough with fever for 3 days, and the fever was 102 to 103 with a dry cough for 2 days with severe body pain, joint pains, and weakness. The dry cough with sore throat and feeling of dryness in the throat, which brought about bouts of coughing. So she was having a dry cough, and I use So she was having a dry cough with sore throat and a feeling of dryness in the throat, which brought about bouts of coughing. Are you seeing one slide in between? Because I'm getting it here. I don't know why this is. Please move this window away is what it says, and I'm trying to move and it's not moving around. But in your this thing, are you able to? You are able to see the whole slide clearly?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So it's only on my computer that it's coming. If you have any questions, we'll take it up after this case. So let's go through this particular case. So, a lady who was around 28 years came with cough, fever, 3 days. Fever was around 102 degrees to 103. It was a very dry cough with sore throat and a feeling of dryness in the throat, which brought about the bouts of coughing. Voice was hoarse. A severe pain in the chest when coughing, has to hold the chest when coughing. Cough aggravated lying down and better by sips of warm water. Otherwise, the patient was thirstless. So only for the cough, which ameliorated. Otherwise, the patient had very little thirst. The history was given by a relative. She is very talkative, very much attached to her mom. Patient is very ambitious, wants to have a chain of parlors. Obstinate, whatever she decides, then she will stick to it. Very egoistic, can be rude to a point. She had craving for spicy and a chili patient. How do we go about in this case? What remedies come to your mind? So anyone? Hello, good morning. Good morning.
Yes, doctor, our chat box was disabled. That
Okay,
may
okay.
be the reason why they
Oh,
were
all right.
not responding.
Okay.
I
Okay.
request Abel to allow
If
participants to chat with the doctor, please. Abel, please allow chatting with the doctor so
Yes,
that
done.
participants can chat with the doctor.
It is now allowed.
Thank you, Abel.
Brian, yeah. Good. Anyone else? Nakshmasthita, Palsitila. Good. Arsan. Very good.
Camera.
Yeah, any more suggestions? I think they are good enough. I can. Okay. So if we go through this case, in the current scenario of the problem that the patient is having, she was COVID positive, and she had this cough with fever, with hoarseness and chest pain while coughing, and this was the general history which I just wanted to inquire and just took around. But my focus was not on this. My focus was on the particulars that the case presented, and the case presented very beautiful particulars. If we take dryness, hoarseness with, so there is hoarseness of mouth, or a hoarseness in voice, and there is dryness in throat. So there is hoarseness with dryness in throat. There is dryness of air passage in throat. The cough, which is worse at night, aggravated lying down, has to hold the chest while coughing. That's where bryonia comes close by. Warm drinks ameliorate, and thirstlessness cough during. So if we take this feature, two remedies come very close by. One is Drosera, the other is bryonia. Pulsatilla also is coming, arsenic is also coming, Restox is coming. So yes, what you suggested were the few remedies that were coming around. Now, if you look to the case, as far as bryonia and Drosera is concerned, there is a beautiful comparison that happens between the two remedies. Both have their effect on the mucous membrane, the respiratory tract. Both are aggravated by warmth. Both are easily angered, and trifles make them beside themselves. So on slightest trifles, both bryonia and Drosera will be beside themselves. Bryonia has a desire to go home, whereas Drosera has homesickness. There is dryness of nose, mouth, throat. But there is an equal dryness even in Drosera of the nose, mouth, throat. They both have bitter taste in the mouth, and both have dry spasmodic cough. The essential difference is bryonia, the cough is very painful. There are sharp stitches in the chest, which are better by lying on the painful side. There is a frequent desire to take deep breath, must expand lungs. But with this deep breathing, when the patient takes a deep breath, he tends to cough. So there is always a cough that comes around when the patient has a desire to take a deep breath. So this desire to take the deep breath is always attended with a cough. And the patient has always a feeling that he must expand the lungs. Because that deep breath, he was not able to take that deep level as because by the time the cough comes out. And expectoration is rust colored. We all know one of the very important symptoms of bryonia is pneumonia, especially right-sided. And the expectoration in bryonia would be rust colored. It will be thick. Whereas Drosera, as opposed to bryonia, has fits of deep barking, choking cough. So even though the cough is not painful, but there is a very deep barking and choking cough. There is a constriction feeling of the chest, and the patient has to hold the chest while coughing, because the paroxysms follow one another and can scarcely breathe. So one after another, the cough starts. I remember a child, who was just, I'm talking of an infant, maybe 2 years old, who had cough, which was constant cough. The moment, the child was put to bed, she will start coughing, and continuously. Sometimes you feel that when is the patient having a breath in this cough? So that is the type of paroxysmal cough that will be there seen in the Drosera. But it is also dry. Bryonias basically they desire for things which are rejected when offered. So there is a capriciousness. You will find a Bryonia patient, so much in a problem, because he doesn't know what he wants. But then when you give that particular thing, again he goes to another. It's like Camomillacina. Bryonias also are same capricious. They despair of being cured. There is a fear of death. Aversion to be touched or disturbed. They dislike being disturbed. They dislike being touched. So a doctor who comes, and just asks or tries to ask them how you are, they will not like, because they don't want to be disturbed in that way. They have a fear of poverty, yet they talk of business and they dream of business. So sometimes it's difficult for a Bryonia patient, because he wants to talk about his business, but still he doesn't want to be disturbed. So again, that is desire for things which are rejected and offered. So he doesn't know. There's a capriciousness that keeps coming around. Whereas Droseras are suspiciousness with restlessness. So they are very suspicious with restlessness. They imagine that he's being deceived by spiteful and envious people. They have a dread of night. They fear ghosts. They are very obstinate, headstrong to execute their thought out plans. So they will not back out. In fact, Tyler has gone to state, that Drosera patients are like, anyone? Drosera patients are like? Tyler has talked about Drosera as? Anyone? Yeah, Danesh is correct. Hitler, exactly. Hitler had a plan in his mind, and he was so obstinate that he executed that particular plan. The Germans are a superior race, is what he put it across to the others also. And then, you know the history. So Tyler says that Hitler was a Drosera patient. And they have a lot of loquacity after cough. But the essential difference between Bryonia and Drosera is that Bryonias are extremely thirsty. Droseras are thirstless. Not only that, Bryonias are better by rest. Droseras are aggravated by rest. See the polar apart features. There is a 9 p.m. aggravation in Bryonia, whereas there is a night or an early morning aggravation in Drosera. Bryonia's desire to be alone. Droseras, when they are alone, have anxiety, sadness. They are sad on being alone. So they dislike being alone. In Bryonia, there is a desire for acids and drinks, acid drinks, like Coke and all those things. Whereas Drosera has an aversion to acid drinks. So you see, the remedies fall apart. So that is why when you said Bryonia, I can understand it's Bryonia, but it's not Bryonia because the thirst part of it is not a feature which is covered by Bryonia. So I put the patient on Drosera 30, 1 hourly. So as I told you yesterday, I put it in water. So around 6 pills in half of water, 1 teaspoon will be taken every 1 hour. And within 12 hours, the fever came to normal. The other day, cough was better 60%. So we continued Drosera. And the next day, there was no cough, no fever. So the patient was not given anything. Now, if we have time, let's go to, I talked to you about, because I don't think we'll have time for comparative medicines, which I was going to talk about. I was to talk on Bryonia, Rustox, Antimony-Tart, Ipecac. But I'll talk about my dosage schedule that I was, I mentioned around. Just to give you some understanding of, COVID, there are stages that we can probably come down to. When the stage 2 would be so asymptomatic or very minimal amount of symptoms where there are no much symptoms coming around. Stage 2 is where there is nose dryness, throat dryness, loss of smell, taste, weakness, body ache, fever, diarrhea, nausea, vomiting. So I use the remedies R-Sal, Ipecac, Mercury, Nux vomica, Bryonia, Rustox, Hepar, nitric acid, sulfur, phosphorus, natrium, pulsatilla in this stage. If you go to stage 3, where the cough settles down and the throat pain comes up with weakness, body ache and fever, the remedies change a little. There is Drosera, Bryonia, Pulsatilla, Borax, Natrium, Gelsemium, Simicifuga, Arnica, Cuprum. And if I encounter stage 4, now these are just few remedies that I generally come down to, but there are other remedies also that may come based on the symptomatology. But these are the commonly remedies that I prescribe around. So I just made a list of those remedies for you to give you an idea of what I do. So in stage 4, where there is difficulty in breathing, extreme weakness, a collapse stage is there, pneumonia is there, thrombosis comes around. The remedies change a little. There is Entim-Tart, Phosphorus, Carbovec, Cinera, Amoncarb, R-Sal, Camphor. So this is what I do in my practice as far as COVID is concerned. Now, to put across my potency chart that we are talking of, I generally feel that there are 2 ways of going through. One is to be on a safer side and give a low potency and then wait for some time, or to give a higher potency. Now, what are the advantages and the disadvantages of what we'll be doing? Because the consequences differ, especially in cases of acute cases, and especially in pneumonia stage. One can go safe, secured, where the physician is at rest basically. It's like the physician can come next day and still be at rest about the patient if you give low potency. Because the advantages are when you give low potency, it avoids complications. It reduces the severity very gradually. So the severity is reduced very gradually. But the duration is not much shortened, is a disadvantage. Maybe if the disease was to last for 15 days, you come up, the patient comes up becoming better in 10 to 12 days. So the duration is not much shortened. And it may require another remedy to complete the cure. But when you give a low potency, the matching may not be so accurate. So it's okay, if you have around 60% of matching done around, then you can safely give low potency. And generally the repetition would be 4 hourly or till the end of the disease. The method is by lysis. So you break the thing very slowly by lysis. Whereas when you give a high potency, the doctor has to be on his feet. The advantages are you abort the disease. And the response is within hours. It can be as much as 6 hours. It can be as much as 2 hours. But you will find a very quick response. So I told you the doctor is not so much at rest, like he is on his tenterhooks. The advantage is duration is very much shortened. But the matching has to be very accurate. You have to have the matching very accurately. And the repetition could be half hourly, 2 hourly, depending on that. And within 6 hours, the temperature has to be normalized. You will get a very quick, fast response. Because here, the effect would be of the crisis. So the physician should know how to handle that. So I generally go by what Hahnemann says in aphorism number 2, that cure has to be rapid. In the shortest possible period of time. Because I have a dictum in my practice. I say delay a cure and you have denied a cure. This is my motto in practice. And that is why you see even in the earlier case, the response in 12 hours was marvelous. The fever had just gone down 60%, the patient had become better immediately. So I hope you understand now. I have a very different law as far as potency selection is concerned. And I go by talking about it as Modi's law of potency selection. It is not my name, but just to give a different understanding to people. Where I use to great advantage homeopathy to bring about quick, fast response, as mentioned in aphorism number 2. Because I believe Hahnemann was much ahead of years, much ahead of his years. And one of the things is, we find that most people at this point of time are very impatient. We find the most impatient human beings on the planet Earth. Now, because everyone is talking about, instant idli, instant dosa. Everyone wants an instant success. You also in your practice wants instant success. You want instant fame, instant money. So why should the patient not have instant cure? I have written in my book that people have gone to the extent of offering instant enlightenment. So if that is the need of the hour, homeopathy and homeopaths have to reach to instant cures. So I hope my message is very clear across. And we have a group actually where we, work on this particular thing. On Facebook as well as WhatsApp, we have a definitive homeopathy group where we ensure imparting the knowledge from the basics. And I believe that, if you care, you need to share. So there are a lot of cases which I have put across on my YouTube also. There are a lot of cases which are there. WhatsApp, there is there. Facebook also, there are a lot of cases of the type of understanding the philosophy that I talk about. And I feel anyone and everyone is capable of doing that. I am absolutely of the opinion that according to Hahnemann, whatever has been written in organon medicine, every person is capable of achieving it. So if there are any questions, please go ahead. Thank you so much. God bless you.
So now this is the time to ask questions to Dr. Modi. And participants, please go to the participant list and raise your hands that we can unmute you. Dr. Ansila, you can ask the question. Please unmute from your side and you can ask questions to Dr. Modi. Yeah.
Sir, can you please describe what do you mean by lysis and crisis? The method of administration of medicine.
The lysis is a slower method, as we talked around, where it takes, the period is shortened, but it's not shortened so much. Whereas crisis is where, you can immediately, it's like, a graph which probably goes very gradually down. Whereas the crisis will be like this. You will find the taper coming immediately.
Okay. But administration is in the same way, right?
Pardon me?
And lower potencies and higher potencies are administered in the same way, right?
No, in higher potencies, you give frequent repetitions. I'm talking of acute disease. You give frequent repetitions. It is like, giving a frequent stimulus. It's like, let me put it across to you a little understanding. If there is an emergency, you have to go to, you want somebody to open the house. What will you do? Will you put one bell and then just wait for some time if there is emergency? What will you do?
We will repeat it.
Yeah, you will go on ringing the bell till somebody opens the door. And I asked this question to my students. So maybe I'm sorry, but I want to put this question now since you asked that particular thing. I want to ask you a question, and I want to ask each one of you a question. This is a question I commonly ask my students. How fast do you think if you are ill, you want to become better? Or how fast, if somebody in your family is not well, you want them to become better?
As much as fast as we can.
Simple. The same the patient expects from us.
Okay.
So what you expect for yourself, you do the same for your patients. This is what Hahnemann has been talking of in the second aphorism. And I tell you that it is not one place that Hahnemann has talked about. If you know, probably I have written it, that Hahnemann says that the highest ideal of cure is it has to be rapid, gentle, and permanent. We all talk about gentle and permanency, but we hardly talk about rapidity. In fact, you know, we are very comfortable when patients come and tell us that homeopathy is slow. I say, no, it's not slow. Now, what I want to tell you is this, that if alphabetically, you know, Hahnemann had to put, he would have put gentle, permanent, and rapid, because GPR comes. But Hahnemann was very clear that the order has to be rapid.
Okay.
Then it has to be gentle and permanent. And even in the second part of it, where he writes in the most shortest, most reliable, most harmless way, see, that's the order. So he is very clear about the order. If he wanted to even put it alphabetically, it would be most harmless, most reliable, most shortest. So in both the places, it would have gone the other way around. The order would have been reversed. But Hahnemann was very clear that any system who is rapid, which is rapid and which gives result in the shortest possible period of time, will survive, will sustain. Because we are facing the most impatient human beings on the planet Earth now.
Yes.
So if homeopathy has to survive, it has to have rapidity as its core, then gentle and permanency. We all harp on saying we are more gentle, we are more permanent. I say no. I believe in that homeopathy is more rapid. And the same order Hahnemann has used in 8 other places in Organon. So if it was by mistake, I am telling this particular thing again. So if this order was by mistake in aphorism number 2, the same order he would not have repeated at 8 different places in the Organon. So Hahnemann was very clear and very sure that homeopathy is capable of giving rapid results.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next is Dr. Hassan Assaman.
So there is one beautiful saying in English language: "Do unto others what you want others to do to you." And you are aware about this statement? Do unto others what you want others to do to you. This applies in, that what you are expecting out when you are ill, or when my family member is ill, when my child is ill. Would I give 1 dose and I'll tell him, okay, we'll see after 15 days or after 1 month? Would you do like that? Your parent, somebody is not having, good health. And then, we'll put on 1 dose and we'll say, okay, I'll meet you after 1 month. Because the sword is dangling at our head here. It is very easy when the sword is dangling on somebody's head. So do unto others. So you do what to others, what you want others to do to you. That's the natural law. The world is like an echo. What you give, you're going to get it. Yeah.
Dr. Hassan. Dr. Hassan.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
Sir, can I share my experience of
Yeah.
calcarea curve about COVID-19?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Sir, from the beginning of COVID-19 pandemic situation in Bangladesh, I am from Bangladesh.
Okay, sir.
One of my patient, he is the manager of a big factory. She continued asking me, sir, give me some prevention for my worker. Sir, give me some preventive medicine for my worker. Then I am thinking, what can I give them? Then I am thinking 4 rubrics. First off, fear of pandemic, fear of disease, contagious disease pandemic.
Correct, right, sir.
Second, fear of infection. Third, fear of anxiety darkening. Sir, anxiety darken,
Yes, sir.
or then I make repertory and then come out calcarea curve is the first medicine. So I give them calcarea curve as a calcarea curve 30 as a preventive dose for 8,000 workers, 8,000 people.
Mm.
They take it, and after 2 months, I give them calcarea curve 200 single dose in the same manner. So as a result, only 3% out of
Yes,
8,000
got it.
people, only 3 people infected by corona,
COVID.
but
Correct.
COVID-19,
Yes, sir.
but they have few symptom or very minimum symptom.
Very minimum.
Even they cannot understand that they are infected by COVID-19. Only some sneezing, some very low fever. That's all.
That's right. Very good, sir. That's precisely what I wanted, to put across. That, the overall pathology, if you
Because
understand.
they have no. Still none of them are very good, and they are working in their factory. So, and I'm still giving most of the people who they ask about preventive.
Yeah.
As a preventive measure, I am giving maximum calculator curve 30.
Okay. That's exactly what I did also, and I keep on giving to my patients. So thank you so
Okay,
much.
so thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.